On this episode, I'm going to be talking about how we get better at the things we do often. Hi guys, and welcome to episode 31 of the Your Progress is Our Passion podcast. I'm going to be going through a series in my solo shows now, talking about what I call my rules of mindset. Okay, basically these are things that are the principles that underpin the techniques and the things that I do. And quite a lot of the time, if I learn a new technique or if I learn a new concept, it can often be traced back to one of these principles. The first one, and the reason I put this first, is because it's so important, and it's going to sound so amazingly obvious when I say it, but then when we delve into it, it's going to be a little bit more kind of, oh yeah, didn't realize it applied there. And the principle is this, that you get better at the things that you do often. Now, if I was to say, yeah, go and paint for 6 hours a day and you'll get better at painting, then you'd be like, yeah, okay, I can get my head around that. Go and learn the guitar, go and speak a language for this time of day. The more we train, the more we squat, the better we get at it. Now, the important thing I want to point out here is that there's quite a few caveats to this, okay? And that is, for example, I just mentioned squatting, for example. And the more we squat, the better we will get at squatting. However, if you learn to squat with a poor movement pattern and you continue to squat, you get better and better and better at squatting with that same poor movement pattern. It's almost like if you're a coach yourself, or if you ever work with someone who's developed a bad habit, they've got better at that bad habit of what they are doing there. And you actually have to spend all this time undoing the bad habit in order to start to instill that new habit. I've worked plenty of times with people who've never squatted before, and they've got it like reasonably, a lot better than I had it in about 6 years, in about 6 minutes. Because I learned how to squat initially reading magazines. It's a great way to learn how to squat, right? Because there's not even a visual movement of it there. It's just a before and after photo. And I didn't get video myself. I didn't look from the side, any of that stuff. I didn't know exactly what was going on with my body. And I didn't have that proprioception, that idea that where my mind-muscle connection back then of what I was doing. So I relearned to squat, and every time I went with a different coach, they'd talk about a different principle. And over a long period of time, all of those bad habits got ironed out, and now I'm a pretty decent squatter. So the main thing is that if we do things badly, and we continue to kind of do the thing badly, we get better at doing it badly. So, for example, we do... One that I'm really intrigued with at the minute is if we give up on something because it's hard, okay, that might be a difficult decision to make the first time around because you've not really given up on something because it's hard before. But that decision in itself, the next time something hard comes along, it's a lot easier to make that decision. We get better at the things that we do often. And one big area I want to place this out there is that it's so appropriate and it's so real when it comes to things that we don't necessarily want. So let's say raising your temper, okay, getting angry, road rage, things like that. You start to do those things and you get really, really good at them. One thing that, now you're going to think that when I say this with anxiety, and when I mention it now, is that you get better at doing anxiety the more that you do it. Now, you may think of anxiety as being something that you have and not something that you do. But I want to suggest that there are certain things that we do in that case, once we start feeling those things, that only perpetuate the anxiety. We can catastrophize, we can build problems up to be bigger than they are. We can focus directly on the things that are worrying us and bothering us and sort of have that tunnel vision. And the more we do this, the better we get at it. So one of the reasons that I'm becoming increasingly passionate about the idea of working with school kids on this, because school kids nowadays are beginning to get anxiety at a much younger age, but they haven't got as good at it as people in their 20s or their 30s or beyond. I know from my years of having depression that I got really good at doing depression. And then once I got good at my self-care, I got really good at that, which made it harder to do the depression things. Because those old patterns, I would slip into other patterns and actually then have more choices on which way I could go when that happened. And if you think that we don't do depression, I don't know if you've ever been to one of my seminars or you've ever watched anything I've talked about on physiology. When I'm depressed, I'm not open and chatty and happy like this. I don't smile. I don't wear bright orange t-shirts like what I'm wearing right now. I crawl up into a ball. I make myself small. I get under that blanket. I get in a dark room and I close off my entire body. I lower the voice. I start talking slower. The tone of my voice comes a little bit like Eeyore. And it all gets, the things I'm doing help to perpetuate that depression. Now, if I realize that I am depressed or on the way to a depression and that I intervene with that, then I get the option to get better at breaking that cycle. Now, yes, depression and anxiety, they are things that people have, but they are also things that people do. The initial, I prefer to, rather than say I have depression, I say, what's the word? I am susceptible, because I'm from type 2 bipolar disorder, I am more susceptible to depression than your average person. Rather than saying I have it, because have it all the time means it's with me all the time, and it isn't. But once I am in a depressive state, I still have choices. Once I am in an anxious state, I still have choices. And the first time that I do, let's say I'm in an anxious state and I need to break that pattern. Okay, the first time I do that pattern, I break that pattern, it might be the first time I've ever done it. And it's hard to do because it's not something I've done often. Running away with my anxiety, becoming more anxious, and then ultimately panicking, backing off, drawing back from something, avoiding the thing that's making me anxious. That's what I historically was good at. I was really good at that. Nowadays, because I've spent more time interrupting it and realizing I'm very anxious now, okay, what can I do? What are the options here? What can I do at this exact moment that can break that or at least lessen it? Or even if I can't lessen it, just accept it where it is and not emphasize it, not make it any worse. And these are all options that are completely available, and until we go past those sort of crucial points. But these, in the build up to an anxiety attack, and the build up to a panic attack, and the build up to a period of depression, even, possibly while we're in that period, if it's not too severe, we have this option to kind of go down the opposite path. And the way I like to explain this to clients, especially, so if you say, for example, you want to achieve something new, you want to walk away, you'll say you've binge eaten. You've been a binge eater. I don't even know what the correct past tense of that is though. But say you've been a binge eater your entire life, right? Okay. And then you want to walk away from food, and you've got these two paths in the road. Okay. Path on the left is the one that you've done often. Okay, this path is well maintained. It's got benches by the side of it. The sun is shining. The path itself is, nice and paved. Maybe let's even go with the whole golden yellow brick road and all the rest of it. There's the weather's great. It's brilliant. It's easy to take. Okay, and you can just walk down that path. Your brain is quick at taking you down that path. And then on the right hand side, we've got the other path. The path that you want to take, but you've not taken before, or you've maybe only taken a few times. And that path is overrun with weeds. It's got big, scary-looking trees with those glowing eyes that that you see in horror movies and maybe even cartoons, like gleaming through the forest. It sounds desolate. The weather is horrendous. There's just brambles and weeds and stuff all over the path, and your brain doesn't want to go down that path, and it's going to be hard because you've not done that thing so many times. But here's what happens: we get better at the things that we do often. So you accept that path is going to be difficult, and you forge on down it anyway. And what happens is you take away a little bit of those weeds. You brighten the sunshine up. You scare away a few of those monsters. You chop down or replace with nicer, though, a few of those scary looking trees. And then you go down. It's a little bit easier next time to go down that path. And you do that again, and you do that again. And as you continue to go down that other path, choosing that different behavior, then the weeds become less and less. The path becomes more well maintained. And the old way is where the weeds start to grow. Your brain starts closing over the neurons that lead to that way. It starts making it so that the synapses that are firing go slower. and they go faster down the new way. And though it may always be a little bit harder to go down that path, the new behaviour, than it is the old way, you'll be so much better at it, for the simple truth that we get better at the things that we do often. So if you want to be better at something, if you want to improve a behaviour, or you want to learn a new skill, or you just want to be able to prep your food easier, or you want to be able to make social arrangements easier, you want to get to bed on time easier, all those things, start by just accepting that those first steps will be difficult, because you're going down the scary path into the dark forest and not down the clear, well-maintained path through the meadow. Accept that it's going to be difficult, but understand, believe that it is going to be easier and better in time. I'm going to leave it there. Your progress is my passion, as always, and I really hope that this has helped you. In terms of plug-in, I'm really just going to keep pushing for this A Life a Day project at the minute. If you get some value from the podcast of just hearing me talk in principles, imagine what sort of value you get from having an hour with me on Skype one-to-one, or on FaceTime one-to-one, or even if you're in Southport, face-to-face. Okay? If you want that, it's completely free. You can walk away from it. I'm not even going to sell you anything or tell you about other products. You can have that completely for free. And if you actually do that, you're helping me to achieve a goal this year, okay? Because I'm on about 80 something of those right now, and I need 365 by the end of the year. So if you want to take part in that, give me an email, dave@cofitpt.com, with the subject A Life a Day. And if you want anything else that you wanted to say about the podcast, you want to ask any questions or anything like that, same email address, dave@cofitpt.com, and then just give me the subject podcast, and I will get back to you. I will include it in the next episode. All right, thanks again for watching, guys. Your progress is my passion. Ciao.